Other skylight areas would appear so vague as to make for the determination that no sky luminosity, and therefore no sky, existed at such points. The detection of sky luminosity, celestial and terrestrial, does not depend solely upon distance from the observing point. North, east, south, and west, our terrestrial skylight would reproduce that which is presented by celestial light. The extent of our view of the Earth's skies, heavens above, would depend on the angle of observation in the stratosphere, the power of the detecting lens, and the gaseous condition of the most remote sky areas at the time of observation. At altitudes of 1,000 to 5,000 miles in the stratosphere, the most powerful telescopic lenses and their companion camera lenses would likewise record all the grotesque entities presently recorded at the luminous outer sky surface areas over the land of other parts of the universe. Such recording would be of sky areas over the known land of New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, as well as over the water of the Atlantic Ocean. Hence, they could readily be determined as the illusory condition considered to be real when the same entities are observed over celestial land areas. The astronomically recorded horses' heads in the Great Nebula in Orion and the Spiral Nebula in Cygnus would be reproduced in certain terrestrial sky areas, where the play of sky gases plus lens magnification would develop such gaseous formations. And if the light distortion appearing as a dark form in the terrestrial sky area was not defined as the horses' heads in the celestial skylight of astronomy's Orion, it could readily be designated something else related to horse anatomy. Such designation would not obscure the fact that it is nothing but sky-like distortion. That which applies to the dark formation in luminous sky area likewise applies to the white formation in the astronomical nebula of Cygnus. Any ectoplasm like white veil or film of the Cygnus skylight area will be duplicated in terrestrial skylight. It may be found to develop in the skylight making the stars of Portland, Old Orchard, and Kennebunk, Maine. Or it could as readily be observed in the terrestrial skylight stars of Kalamazoo, Michigan. That sky gas condition, which astronomy is pleased to describe as the nebula of Cygnus, has already been photographed in the luminous terrestrial sky over White Sands, New Mexico. And it could be reproduced in ever so many terrestrial sky areas under conditions favorable to its formation. Another interesting observation from the hallowed realm of astronomical deduction is that dealing with the nebula M31 in Andromeda. Though it is conveniently mathematized as being 3,500 million times the weight of the Sun, it can be readily dissipated under lens magnification. This expresses the ultimate of abstraction in the application of abstract mathematics. Despite such estimated sky gas weight, a telescopic lens can dissipate the so-called nebulas of formation, yet the lens cannot penetrate through the gas density to the underlying land. The depth of abstraction becomes evident as one realizes that there cannot possibly be an authentic gauge for the Sun's mass, and any weight estimate is absurd. Though it fits the universe of illusion, it can have no application to the universe of reality. It is comparable to an estimate concerning the birth and ancestry of God. One need not burden conceptual capacity in a forlorn attempt to determine the meaning of that figure 3,500 million times the weight of the Sun. Regardless of how one cares to view the application of abstract mathematics and the real meaning of so-called nebulas, the paramount fact remains that no sky gas motion, seeming or real, has any bearing whatever on the realistic connected land existing under all sky areas. For reasons abundantly disclosed, sky areas must be considered isolated. The art of astronomy, though impotent to penetrate the gaseous celestial sky envelope, regardless of what its density may be, is restricted to observation and analysis of luminous sky areas and the movement of their gases. In astronomy's failure to grant that, nebula is an aspect of sky gas motion fosters gross misinterpretation of cosmic values. Experimentation proves that in observation of light and luminous areas, there will at times be formed grotesque creations. At other times, the formations will be dissipated. It depends considerably on the angle of observation, the gaseous movement of the luminous area at the time of observation, and the amount of magnification of the light or luminous area. Microscopic observations clearly express such features, though there exists in microscopy a possibility of error which is infinitesimal in comparison with the unlimited possibilities for telescopy. Observations of a microscopic field establish that too much magnification of the field specimen will cause it to be obscured, whereas a different light quantity will distort the specimen. Hence, in a factual study of lens capriciousness, it is established that the important feature is not so much what is observed, but rather how and under what conditions observations are made. In spite of claims to the contrary, abstract mathematics and their competent mechanical aids and guides can in no way correct the structurally inherent lens culpability. Size and power of a lens has nothing to do with the error of lens principle. A 1,000-inch lens cannot eliminate the error, but it can and will magnify the error. From the enviable 1,000-mile observation point in the stratosphere, the heavens above would be observed everywhere and at every angle of observation. Every luminous outer sky area over the entire Earth, or as much of the Earth's sky that could be detected, would present a vista of the heavens above. The terrestrial appearance in no way differs from that of celestial sky areas observed from the terrestrial. The rhythmic shift of light motion within some luminous outer sky areas of the terrestrial would also present the same characteristics under spectrum analysis as presently found in the light of celestial sky areas, and that corresponding activity would cause it to appear that the star of East St. Louis or some other terrestrial sky area would be burning up its terrestrial orbit at a devastating rate, and it would deceptively appear to be circling toward our observation point in the stratosphere. On the other hand, it might appear to be as rapidly receding from our position and away from its normal location. The appearance of approaching or receding would depend upon the intensity and motion of sky gases at that particular place when observation was made. Such condition would deceptively appear when in fact nothing was going anywhere, either toward or away from our stratosphere observation point. Some terrestrial sky areas would seem to flicker or fluctuate. The motion of some areas would appear to be constant and therefore imperceptible as motion. The motion of others would appear to be variable, and the constancy or variability of terrestrial skylight motion would correspond to that recorded by the light curves from celestial skylight areas. However, with the physical knowledge possessed of our Earth's sky, no reasoning person could ever ascribe to such motions of terrestrial skylight that which astronomy interprets from identical motions in celestial skylight. Celestial and terrestrial sky luminosity and the motions of such light have a common heritage. They are of the same universe family. Further, one is as continuous with the other as the circulating blood of the human body, the left side as well as the right side, and thereby nourishes the entire body. Mathematical astronomy has not and will not detect that obvious continuity feature from lenses and figures. That feature, being of the universe of reality, was not entrusted to the uncertainty of abstract figures and symbols. Though such figures and symbols are endowed with precision and positiveness, the endowment applies to and benefits only the unreal mathematical universe. In analysis of light waves from various so-called stars areas of the universe, at times two spectra are observed to move back and forth. They prescribe, or there is prescribed, a waving or undulating motion of the skylight under analysis. The astronomer's conclusion must be that such duality of motion presupposes dual entities in motion. He does not consider the motions attributable to sky gases. If he did, he would be empowered to consider many other features this book contains. Instead, when spectroscopic examination confirms the dual motion, the astronomer must assume that confirmation has been had of two distinct entities or bodies, whereas in reality, all that the astronomer's eyes, the telescope and camera, the spectrum and the spectroscope have established is that dual motion is taking place in the celestial skylight area. It should be further noted that none of the observations and tests have anything to do with land areas of the universe underlying the skylight being tested. They are restricted to a determination of celestial skylight content and activity. They are impotent to deal with the land existent under the skylight. Though there is land under all celestial and terrestrial skylight, there is no body in motion, to say nothing of two separate bodies in motion. The ever-active sky gases are responsible for all detected motion. Other factors may influence the portrait of motion which the lens detects. They also influence the spectrum. Hence, it is nothing more formidable than the misinterpretation of sky gas motion, which leads to the conclusion of spectroscopic binaries, or double stars, in this particular instance of celestial skylight analysis. Duality of gas motion can exist, but duality of bodies can never exist, for the reason that there are no celestial bodies to have motion. That particular astronomical feature was embraced by the original treatise Physical Continuums as early as 1927. There it was disclosed that every sky area of the Earth deceptively appears to be circling or revolving. That 1927 claim has application to the entire universe. It discounted astronomical interstellar space and the circling or ellipsing of assumed isolated bodies and restricted space orbits. Orbits are definitely not required for the motions of luminous sky gases over land areas that are connected throughout the universe and are not circling or ellipsing in space. Energy in motion is restricted to waves of varying length and intensity. All of modern enterprise establishes that feature of natural law, and of modern enterprise establishes that feature of natural law, and the active sky gases of the terrestrial and the celestial conform to the principle of motion. What deceptively appears to be happening should be known as illusory by modern astronomers. Then would they be able to discount the seeming celestial conditions which perpetuate and enlarge upon the primary illusion developed by Lenz's theory of motion, primary illusion developed by lens function. Another of the many extraordinary features of astro-mathematical confusion is that which grants so-called nebula centers composed of gas, and then proceeds to mathematize that such gas is formative in the stratosphere as the nucleus of star matter. Such a wayward conclusion results from the fact that the central regions of some luminous celestial sky areas under observation defy penetration and dissipation of their light by the most powerful lenses. Hence, such concentrated central points are mathematized and assumed to be something different and remote from the remainder of the sky area. This observation is one that brings mathematician astronomers to the door of reason. But alas, they refuse to enter. Such observation should show that the substance deceptively appearing to be formative in the stratosphere and apparently alienated from the central luminous sky area is gas movement of the skylight area. In the case of this kind, the astronomer comes so close to the truth that it is painful to realize how his misconception of values demands that he adhere to the faulty premise and forsake the truth so glaringly presented. It seems that something pertaining here was mentioned about 2,000 years ago by the immortal master of parables, who pronounced, "None are so blind as they who will not see." That intensification of skylight in some areas, celestial and terrestrial, is a very natural condition, and it is related to the following.